Alright guys, it's been a couple days and we are getting ready to start reassembly. We've got all of our pieces nice and clean. Now they aren't perfectly clean by any means, but they are way better than they were when we got them. And as we do reassembly, I'll show you how clean we got them. So we've already done one of our cam towers, but we're going to be removing this front seal here. So what I've done is I've taken a punch, one of these, made a nice little divot in there. And then what I'm going to do is take a self-tapping screw, just like that, and drill it in there. Now you don't want to go too far, because if you go too far, you'll actually damage the surface back here. So we're going to take our drill, we're going to put this self-tapper in there, and we're going to pull that seal out. Well, maybe not. Another option you could do is if that doesn't work, so like it's struggling for us right now, you just take the back side of a claw hammer and pull it out. This is a really small hammer because this one will work for us. You can see it's starting to come out. Just like that. Okay, so the seal is out. You can see where we were trying to drill through it to get all the way through. We were almost through if we would have stuck with it. So that's one way to get that out. Okay, so now our seal is out. We can clean the surface and you can see we haven't damaged anything in there. So that's all still in good, awesome shape. So the next thing we're going to want to do, now we've got both those seals out, is we're going to grab the cylinder head. Alright, and here's our cylinder head, all nice and clean. So we got a little bit of that cleaning material in there, that cleaning compound, cleaning solution, that's what's still in there. So like I said, it's not perfect, but if you look in our channel here where our coolant flows, it's actually really nice and clean, which is surprising because a lot of those get a lot of buildup and those typically don't last too long and they're really hard to clean. But when we look through all the channels, through our two temperature sensors here, and through this big where the thermostat sits, it's actually really clean. We can flip this up, we take a look, and it is all nice and clean under here too, much improved. Now like I said, it's not perfect. You can still see there's some buildup in here and in here. So it's not going to be brand new condition. I'm just trying to get all that loose stuff that's going to inhibit us from getting what we can out of it. And this is, you know, like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. It's going to do the job just for us, just fine. So today we're going to start our rebuild. So let me grab all the supplies we're going to need to start from this bare bottom up. And this is exciting. We get to start putting stuff back together. So let me grab everything and we can finally get started. Alright, so what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be lapping our valves. So I've got some valve grinding compound. I picked this up at the local auto store. There's an Advanced Auto Parts right around the corner from my house. So I picked this up, and you can actually mix this with water to either dilute it to make it not as coarse, or you can leave it as it is to leave it coarse. Now we know our valves actually seat relatively well, but I'm going to go through this process anyway. I did this on another video. I'll make sure to drop the link up here. For our 850 project where I lapped the valves on that. But it's the same process, but we're going to do it through on this one so you guys can see it here. And we're going to start on this side. This is our exhaust side. This is cylinder number 1 in the front here. So I'm going to grab our valve, nice and clean that one up. It's not perfect, but it is clean. It was caked with gunk on there. If you follow me on Instagram, you would see these pictures of these valves, what they looked before and after. So make sure you guys do that. I'm going to prop this up here. See if I can get y'all a good spot. So what we're going to do, let me see if I can, this might be easier. For now I'm going to do it like that. Alright, that'll work for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit on this mating surface here. So you see how it's all black on that surface? Our goal is to make it silver and shiny, and hopefully you guys can see this here. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit on my finger, just like that, and I'm going to spin the valve to get some on the whole surface. I want to go all the way around. So take a little bit of finagling. Like I said, if you need to dilute this, if you want to make it a little bit finer grit, you can mix it with a touch of water. A few drops of water, it'll really dilute it. So what this is basically liquid sandpaper in reality. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in there. You're going to have one finger on the bottom, one finger on the top, and we're going to spin it one direction, then spin it back the other, then spin it the other way. So what I want you to do is to really listen, because it'll be nice and coarse. You'll be able to really hear it. Then as it's starting to grind, it'll start to smooth out and get quieter. That's when we know it's working. So I'm going to put it in here, and in a guide, just like that. Slide it all the way through. Okay, now we are seated, and I want you to listen. Now it's raining, so it's not going to be super easy to hear, but just wanted to see if you can hear it. Okay, so I want you to notice that as I'm going around, I'm going back and forth, but I'm also picking it up and resetting it. Okay, because you don't want it to get stuck in one spot. You want it to grab some fresh material. You can hear it start to get a little quieter. It may be a little higher pitch sound. Just like that, you hear it? Okay, so we're starting to make progress. I'm going to wipe this off with a rag really quick. Wipe off this surface really quick. Okay. And now we can start to see that shiny surface on that valve. And the good thing is when we're looking at it, it's nice and centered. It's not too low on the valve. It's not too high on the valve. It's right in the middle, a nice thick band where it's seating on here. Now, I could call this good, and you can see how nice, how shiny it is here. You could call that good. Yeah, it looks good. It's all shiny and silver. But I still see a little bit of a dark spot on there, here and there, little speckles. You might be able to see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. But it's going to be the same process on all the valves. It's pretty straightforward, just like that. You know, as I said, make sure you guys pick it up, turn it, and reset it several times, one way, then the other way, pick it up, reset it. And the other thing you want to be careful of is sometimes this compound will kind of ooze out the side of the valve on top or down low, and so the material will get won't be in the right location. So don't be afraid to take the valve out, reset it, and do it again. Okay, so that's a real basic process of how to reset and grind down your valves to get that mating surface nice and set. Now you'll want to make sure you're using the correct valve in the correct location. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, because if these have already been mated together from the factory, so I do my best to keep them matching as well in here, especially because aware of where the guides are, and there's certain factors that kind of limit them to the only location that they're in. So let's get these nice and cleaned up. I'll do another process on these and really get these seats shined up and nice and silver. So let's knock this out. Okay, so now we're going to start the process of rebuilding. This is the exciting part. So the first thing we're going to want to do is install our valve seal here. You can see it looks just like our old one, but this is how it should look. It's got a nice new spring on the top, nice pliable rubber, and there's a rubber coating on the inside. And maybe you could see there's a bunch of ribs in there. Maybe you guys can see that. There's some ribs in there, and those little ribs are to keep the oil out from dropping down into the cylinders. So what we're going to want to do is center this on here. Now this rubber coating is going to make it hard for you to do it by hand. So what I do, and some people may not like it, but I find it that it works, is that I kind of twist it a little bit, make sure it's seated on there. And then I'll take a 7/16 socket and my smallest little hammer, and I'll do baby taps to seat it all the way. Okay, just like that, it's all the way seated on there. It's nice and flush to that surface on the bottom, and it's still fully functional, nice and pliable, not damaged. So then we're going to put our shim on the bottom. Then we're going to put our other washer. This one's got a ridge on it. The ridge goes up like that. So the next thing we would do is take our, because this is the front, we would take our exhaust number 1 springs. You'd put this inner spring, outer springs in the cup, which is on top here, just like that. And then we'll slide our spring, our valve. This is number 1 for our exhaust underneath here. And we'll start to slide it up, and then we can get our spring compressor on there. So let's get this situated so we can get this on. So now as we go to slide this valve in, I've got some engine assembly lube. I'm going to squeeze some of it out. I'm going to put it on the stem of the valve right here. That way whenever we go to start the engine up for the first time, we're not prematurely wearing out the valve guides or the stem, because we definitely don't want that. So that's all nice and lubricated. Let's slide it in here. Okay. Make sure we are all the way in, just like that, nice and seated. And then we can put our spring on like this. And this is where it's going to be a kind of delicate balancing act. I'm going to see if I can get you guys a good angle from both sides. But so we have it like this. We're going to want to see if I can get a prop. There you go. So we've got our clamp on the bottom, and this is where the balance comes in. Get the cup on. Don't need a piece of fabric. Get our cup on. See if we can get this started. I might have to change our angle here. Okay, so we got it clamped on there. I know you can't really see that, but let me get this tight and then I'll be able to show you guys here. So what I'm doing is I'm clamping down the spring by twisting that one so I can expose the top of the stem. So what I'm trying to do is get this down, the spring down enough to where I can put the retaining clips on that little gap right there, that ridge. Alright, so I can see the top of the stem. So what I want to do is get my retainers, these little pieces here, and it may be tough to see, but there is a raised portion in the middle. You can kind of see it there on the top where it's bumped up. That sits in that gap that I just showed you. So the trick is to get it to both of them to stay in there, because they will fall out. Alright, so I think we're going to move like this. Nice and easy. Okay, let's see if I can bring y'all with me this way. So you see how we're clamping down on the stem? One of the retainers is in there. So I'm trying to get the other one. It's kind of tough with the gloves on. Here we go, nice and centered. All right, so what I'm gonna do now that they're in there is I'm gonna slowly release the tension on the spring on the bottom. I don't wanna do it all at once because you could risk breaking one of the retainers. Okay, there you go. So now it's seated. Let me get you guys in here. I know it's tough to see anything. So now we got those retainers in there. So they're nice and seated. And when I pick this up and away from the top of the stem, they'll sit and get seated. So let me see if I can get you guys like this. Maybe you guys can see something like that. So as I'm releasing this, the tension's coming off the spring, and those clips, those retainers, should stay there. If it'll work with me. And this is more of a patience thing than anything else. Slowly releasing. And those retainers will stay. Alright, now you see the once it's free enough, then I can release it, and now your valve will stay. So a good test to make sure that it's fully seated is I give it a couple taps, just like that, just to make sure those keepers are definitely seated in there. I do a good visual examination also to make sure that they're nice and flush, they're even, they're not kinked one way or the other. Okay, just like that, and our valve is completely seated. So when we flip it up, our exhaust valve is nice and flush, just like that. So I'm just going to be repeating this process all the way around to get all of our valves nice and seated, and then we'll bring you back, which will be just a second for you guys, but a few minutes for me, and then we can start going up, and that's when it starts getting exciting. So the next thing we're going to want to do is put our cam towers back on. The coffee hasn't hit, I guess, today. But we're going to put our cam towers back on. We have some nice new gaskets. Thank you to Vic Autosports for these. I'll make sure to put a link in the description for the gasket set that I'm using for this. And we can see how nice of a fit that is. Every hole lines up nice and even. And the best part is these are thick. And that thickness compensates for any unevenness in the metal. That way we don't have a cam tower leak. So we're going to be able to get this on here. Now there's a way that you can, I think I have some here, is here it is, how to find it. So if you have some of this spray gasket material, it holds it in place. So let's set this back. It's a bright red color, so it's going to stain on here, but I'm going to spray some on real quick. So you see now it's like a dark red color. I'll actually set it on here. And hopefully that'll help us hold it in place. That way we're not fighting it. There we go. We can place this on top. I can turn it here for you. Make it a little easier for you guys to see. So the gasket holder helps a little bit. It's not perfect by any means, but we can work with it. Makes it a little more tacky. That way it doesn't just straight up fall from underneath there for us. Alright, so there's that. Now these kind of brass colored ones are the ones that go on the inside. It's kind of how I remember those. And they're also shorter. So the ones that are going to go on the outside are longer and they're darker, and the ones that go on the inside are shorter in that brass color. So I'm going to start on the outside. It's going to make it a little easier. I'm going to get them all started by hand, and I highly recommend that. You don't want to cross thread into this delicate metal at all, because you will be very upset with yourself if you tear up these threads and you're not able to get them in there, because it's going to make a heck of a time for you down the road rethreading them, anything like that. So you want to definitely make sure that you're not cross-threading those, and they're nice and easy by hand to get them started. That way you know they're in there. So we're going to take our ratchet here and get them on. So you notice on those, I'm not wrenching it down, I'm not torquing it down. I'm just getting them snug. That way they are easier to get out, and we don't need to torque them at this very second. We'll get these other ones started here. And it's also good not to get them all the way down, because if you have to do a slight adjustment, so like if the gasket comes out too far or something like that and you've got it misaligned, you can always easily back it back out and you're not doing the work twice. Alright, so we're going to get those down. Alright, so you saw as soon as I got any sort of resistance, I would stop. So we're going to repeat this process on the other side and get these back on. It'll start looking like a real cylinder head. So next thing we're going to want to do is get our cam buckets, our valve buckets. I don't remember what exactly you call these, but these are the little cups, buckets that they're upside down, cups, whatever you want to call them. They actually sit on top of the springs, and they slide in these guides here. They're very, very snug fit. So what you're going to want to do is really lube these up, grease them up, and you can slide them in. Now, if we were going back with our stock cams, these would be just fine. These are the ones that came with it from the factory. We know they're measured correctly. The lash is going to be correctly set. Now the thing is, I called up Matt and Aaron at Vic Autosports and said, hey, you know what? I'm already this far into it. I want to get something that's a little bit more performance oriented, but not so much that it's going to kill me on the bank. So what do you suggest? And they said, hey, we've got the perfect thing for you. These are what they are. We're going to send them out to you. So those cams are on the way out there. They're street cams, so they've got a little bit more performance to them, but they're not so performance oriented to where they're high maintenance kind of cams, so like special timing, things like that. So they're going to be an easy plug and play, get them back in here. Now with those new cams, we're going to have to do some measurements. And these caps that are on here, you can see they kind of rotate. These can be removed, and that's what these little grooves are here. You can pop them out, and these are shims for the valves to compensate for any sort of difference on the camshaft. And so with our performance, we'll need to do some math to recalculate what kind of shim we're going to need on the end there. And so once those cams get here, I'm hoping by today, according to FedEx, they're going to be here today. And so that way we can start doing some math to see what valve shims we actually need. So let's get those in, and then we can start doing some measuring. I think the FedEx guys must have, his ears must have been burning, because not too long after I said that, here it is. So this is fresh from Vic Auto, and these are going to be our camshafts. So I'm very excited. I haven't seen these yet. And of course, as always, it comes in super nicely packed, all protected. Look at that, even centered in there, nice and cradled. So we know these are going to be protected. Get these out here. There's one and two. And oh yeah, I forgot I needed this too. This is a brand new clutch kit, exclusive from Vic Auto there. It's a clutch pressure plate, and we are all set on that. This is much later down the road, but I forgot I needed it, so I threw it in that order. And they always know how to help me out. Make sure we got it. All right. All right, so I've got our original stock one in the front and our new cam on the back. Now I'm going to read some information on these because I know people are going to want to ask, well, what's the difference? They look almost identical. A couple of visuals you can see is the cam lobes are wider on the stock versus the new street stuff. These are the street cams. These are their middle grade cams, their most popular ones. These are solid billet camshaft, and these are cast. So there's a little bit of a weight difference also. And so what we're looking at is our intake. So the stock ones, just so I can give you guys some information, have a 227 at 1/2 inch degree of duration, and they have a lift of 0.374 lift on the cam. Now the new billet ones, these are the street performance ones on the back side here. These have 246 duration at 1/2 inch of lift, and then the lift inches is 0.394 on these. So the lift is bigger, the duration is less time, not much, but you're getting more in less amount of time, so there's your performance. This is still a 40/80 profile, and these will work on a fuel injected or a carbureted car. So whichever style you have, you can use these cams. So these are way better for us. We're going to feel a little bit more of a throttle response, and so this is definitely an upgrade for us. So huge shout out for Vix for giving us this information and giving us these parts, helping us with these parts, not giving us these parts, but helping us out with these parts. When I asked for a little bit of an upgrade, they delivered. So I'm excited to get these started in there and see how they look. So let's do a little bit of cleaning on these. We want to make sure we get some of the stuff off of here, and then we can start the slow and steady reinstallation process. So I think what we're going to have to do is backtrack. So I'm going to pull this out, because what's happening is there's a bolt right here in the cups that we just put in. It's going to run into it as it goes through, because you can see that the locations are lower than the cups. So I think what has to happen is you have to take all the bolts out, lift the tower up, put the camshaft in, and then everything back down on top of it. So that means we're going to backtrack just a touch. Luckily it's pretty easy. Not missing anything crazy. But this is why you always watch a video first before you do things, because then you can let people like me learn for you, and you don't have to go through all this trouble. So, lesson learned, put the camshaft in, put the cups in from the underside, and then we can put all the bolts in. So I'm going to get this off, and then we can start again. Alright, so we've got those bolts out. We've got this slightly lifted to where all the cups can be pushed down and the tower can come up. So now we're going to give her a shot coming through back here. Nice and easy. Alright, here's where we got stuck last time. Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. Nice and easy, guiding it through the whole way. Now we've got it up to the front. So I'm going to go nice and slow, slowly working it in. All of our assembly lube is really helping us out here. And now I've got the bolt coming through the front, so it'll help me guide it through. Alright, and just like that, it's all the way seated. So I can push down on this a little bit, and now we can start putting these bolts back in. Tightening it back down, and then we'll be able to start doing some measurements. So I get the joy of doing this all over again. And when we're back together, we can start doing some math. Yay. Okay, so we're going to finally end up with 18 foot-pounds of torque on these bolts. Just like that. All right. Now, of course, when we go to do our final torque, we'll be doing the 18 foot-pounds plus probably a quarter turn to really make sure that's seated on there all the way. These don't require anything crazy strong. Now, when it comes to measuring your valve shims, or your valve shims, they look like little discs like this. And you're going to need a caliper to measure them, and it's going to take some math. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video on how to calculate your valve shim thickness, because this is a very time sensitive and you want to make sure you're going slow when you do this. So this is just kind of what the shims look like, and they usually have something stamped on the bottom, so this one's a 425. So the only reason we're going to be doing a video on our shim thickness is because we do have the upgraded camshaft in these. Now if we were going back to our stock camshaft, slamming that back in there, we wouldn't need to adjust any of that. We would just measure our lash and be set. Now the factory lash for the intake is anywhere between 0.017 and 0.020 for your intake, and for your exhaust it's a little bit bigger from 0.019 to 0.021. So with those lash settings, it depends how thick our shim needs to be. So we're going to attack that on another video. It's going to be a quick tech video. But just to continue this one up and get this one wrapped up and finished, we're going to take our valve cover here. This is our valve cover gasket. And our valve cover here, if I grab the right one, okay, go just like this. Holy moly, I did grab the right one. Did I grab the right one? Yes, I did. Okay. Like that. And then we'll grab our nuts and slam those on there. And we're just going to do those by hand with a little bit of, just a thumb screw and a little bit extra, just to make sure. I do have the wrong one. That's better. This one goes here, and the one with our oil filler goes on this side. So we're gonna put those thumb screws in. It's gonna be the same process on this side, and then our whole head will be back together, minus our wheels on the front, but I'm not worried about setting those in there until we join the head to the block and getting that all set. That way we can set our timing correctly with our water and our pointers and all that good stuff that's required to be on here to set our timing. So let me grab our nuts here and put these back on, and then we can basically wrap up. Alright guys, and that's going to wrap up today's episode. We have finally finished our entire cylinder head rebuild from the teardown in part 1. I'll make sure to put a link in that one in the description. To this part here, part 2, where we've rebuilt it, and including our camshaft install. And I'll make sure to put a link in the description for all the parts and all the pieces that we've used when doing this build, from gaskets to the camshafts, all those pieces that you're going to need to rebuild your head, your cylinder head. And a huge shout out to Vic Auto for always being there with the great information, and I'll make sure to put a link for them down in the description also down below. And our shim video is also out, the detailed shim video I had mentioned earlier. That's going to be also in the description, and I also tagged a link in the middle of the video if you want to go back and check that when you guys review this later. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is a lot of information, and it's all kind of thrown at you all at once, but do it little by little, and you'll be able to get to this point just like I did. So make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps me out. That way I can continue to make new content, new video for you guys, so we can help keep these cars on the road. So until next time, we'll see ya.